Chris, the old-ass retro gamer here. Today I'm going to share a few of my favorite diamond-in-the-rough type of games for the PlayStation 2. So what do I mean when I say a diamond-in-the-rough type of a game? These are games that I don't normally see people talking about online or on YouTube, in the groups that I'm in on Facebook. These are games that just slipped under the radar, but these games are so good, and it's just a shame that people don't give them the attention that they deserve. What I wanted to do is shine some much needed light on these titles. Out of all the systems that I collect for, I have the largest collection for the PlayStation 2. The games, I find them everywhere I go. They're usually pretty cheap, and on top of that, they are a lot of fun. The PlayStation 2 library is just filled with great shoot-em-ups and first-person shooters and action titles and lots of RPGs. There's just so much to choose from that I actually had a hard time selecting 10 games that are in my collection that I don't see a lot of people talking about. So let's get going. My first selection is a game that I did not know existed. It's based on an anime that I have seen one of the films based on it. Lupin the Third, Treasure of the Sorcerer King. What it is a stealth action game, much like Metal Gear Solid, which surprised the hell out of me. The main character that they keep calling Lupin in the game, which I thought was kind of funny, even though it's spelled Lupin, whatever, is a master thief. He's kind of a bungling idiot also. And that's what's kind of cool about this game is it is like a comedic version of Metal Gear Solid, where as Solid Snake, you're sneaking around, you're just assassinating people with stealth kills and infiltrating these installations and trying to get, secrets for the government and all that. And here, you're basically trying to steal one specific item, kind of like Indiana Jones, and you do it in like this goofy kind of way. There's a lot of really funny animated scenes. I will admit the game is a little clunky. Sometimes there are traps that you need to circumvent that are just, it's impossible. And there's one in the first level where you have to avoid all these laser beams. It is next to impossible. I mean, the controls sometimes work against you. But it doesn't mean the game is not fun, and it is. It is a lot of fun. It is really challenging. It is clever in parts. It is just entertaining as all hell. And like I said, since I did not know that this game actually existed, I thought I would share it just in case there are people that don't know about it either. Next is another game that I did not know anything about. I found it randomly stacked amongst a bunch of discounted PlayStation 2 games at a local store. And when I took a look at the back, I saw what it was, and I said, that looks interesting. So I picked it up, and it is Swashbucklers Blue vs. Gray. It's set against the backdrop of the Civil War. That was kind of interesting to begin with. You don't see many games based in that time frame. It is an action RPG. You basically play as a pirate, and you're trying to get a crew together, and you kind of get caught up in this weird government plot. There's a lot of different play styles in this game, which I thought was amazing. You have on foot levels where you are, conversing with people kind of like in an RPG, but there's also like these sword fighting scenes that are kind of like a beat 'em up. There's also like one-on-one fight scenes that are kind of like out of a fighting game. There's also ship-to-ship battles on the ocean, which is fantastic. Those scenes are so much fun, and if you deliver a successful broadside, it just gives you this really cool sense of satisfaction. There's even a little steampunk mixed into it, which is kind of rad. It is also a little on the clunky side. Sometimes design choices were made that don't really make a whole lot of sense. It does also take a little while to get into it, which was my biggest problem, because when I first bought this game, I was just kind of like, this is kind of boring. But I kept going with it, and eventually I got to a point where I was just like, I'm actually having a lot of fun. If you haven't picked up a copy of Swashbucklers, you really owe it to yourself to, especially if you're a fan of like pirate stuff. But this is a really cool game that just kind of flew under the radar, and it is a lot of fun. The next game is one that is part of a long-running series that back in the mid to late 90s kind of dropped out of favor with the fans. The company known for making these games passed off the development rights to other companies, and they did a horrible, piss-poor job continuing the franchise, and it ruined it for a long time. It wasn't until the PlayStation 2 era that the series got back on track, and that is Contra Shattered Soldier, where the games that came out for the PlayStation 1 kind of fooled around with the 3D, because everything on PlayStation 1 had to mess around with 3D at some point, right? They took the franchise and turned it into Bubsy 3D, and they were not fun. But this game is 3D backdrops and 3D effects, but the game is played in 2D. which is exactly what Contra should be. It should be 2D. The graphics are beautiful. The music is intense. It is super fucking hard. Oh my god, this game's difficulty is unforgiving. Everything about this game is spot on. It feels like an updated Contra title. It feels like they finally took advantage of the fact that you've got all this power behind the PlayStation 2, and they just adapted the Contra gameplay to it. And it works. It works fantastically. But the thing is, I do believe that most people got so soured on this franchise because of those shitty PS1 games that no one gave this game the benefit of the doubt, and it's a damn shame because this is fantastic. If it wasn't for this, you wouldn't have gotten Contra 4. Pick this game up if you're a fan of the series because it will not disappoint you. And it will kick your fucking ass. 2 times! I originally owned this next game very early on in the PlayStation 2's life cycle. It was developed by a company that I did not realize would go on to create bigger and better things. It was released by a company that would also too. And it's kind of cool the way things worked out with this title, but nobody talks about it. I remember when this game first came out, people just gave it such shit, but I thought it was a really fun game, and that is Oni. It was developed by Bungie, you know, the people who created Halo, and released by Rockstar, you know, like Grand Theft Auto people, duh. The fact that these two came together and created this game is just kind of amazing in itself. This is a third-person action game that is kind of like a sci-fi version of Tomb Raider mixed with Metal Gear Solid. There's like stealth levels, there's action levels. The graphics aren't great because this was a pretty early PlayStation 2 game. And it has a really cool soundtrack by the guy who composed the music for the Halo series. And the storyline kind of reminds me of like a Perfect Dark type of game. It's very cyberpunky. It is very cool, it's very creative, but the gameplay is where it's at, and this game is just full of it. It is a kind of like a brawler. There's a lot of really cool fighting mechanics, a lot of really cool moves you can do in combos. It's a lot of fun, but nobody ever talks about the game. Once Halo came out, everyone just forgot about Oni, you know, not realizing that Bungie had actually made games before Halo. If you're a fan of Bungie as a developer, you really need to pick up this game. It is very, very underrated. Next, it's a sequel to a game that I do believe started its franchise on the MSX. I could be wrong. A remake of it was done for the Sega CD, and I loved that game. I played that game a lot. I need to get it again. Note to Chris. So when I saw that a sequel was coming out for the PlayStation 2, I jumped on it immediately. Sylphid: The Lost Planet. Come on, working designs and treasure! It is a top-down shoot-'em-up that is just as rad as they come. The graphics are freaking amazing. There are so many cool effects going on. It is colorful. It is creative. I love the starship designs. If you've played the original Sylphid for the Sega CD, you know what to expect, just graphically amped up. That was really blocky because, you know, polygons were kind of a new thing back then. But, you know, at this point, they got their shit together. The different weapon combinations you can have are a lot of fun, and just mixing and matching is just fun in itself because there's so many to choose from and unlock. There is a story, but it's, you know, you don't play a shoot-'em-up for the story. It is really hard, like every good shooter should be. You know, that's what keeps you coming back for more. It is amazing. I never hear anybody talking about it for some reason. And for a game that was released by Working Designs and developed by Treasure, that's kind of a sin. So you guys really need to get on that because this game is fantastic. Here's another game that I had no idea was in existence. Developed by a company which I thought had gone under during the Super Nintendo days. But I'm a fan of the movie, which it kind of is taking its storyline from. So I decided to pick it up because I think it was only like $3 or $4 when I found this on eBay. So it was a pleasant surprise when it ended up actually being pretty fun. 7 Samurai 20XX. They must love those Mega Man games. But it is a brawler. You play as this guy who is a warrior that's been trapped inside this city that's under siege from like a gang. And the people of the town ask you to head up a group of people they want to hire to protect the town from this gang. It is also a kind of a clunky game, I will admit. But the fact that it has got this really cool steampunk sort of aesthetic to it really grabbed me. It is a very cool twist on the 7 Samurai storyline. The fighting system isn't all that great, but you can upgrade your moves, which is kind of cool. And eventually, when you start getting all these characters behind you, it just takes off. And it is so much fun. It is so entertaining. And like I sped through this game like nobody's business. The characters in this were designed by Mobius, who worked on The Fifth Element and Tron. If you're a fan of the original Akira Kurosawa movie, I highly recommend you pick this up. If you're a fan of steampunk, I recommend you pick this up. If you're a fan of brawlers, pick this up. If you're a fan of games, pick this up. I'm a big first-person shooter fan. I always have been. Since I first played Doom, it was done deal. I did the crazy eyes. As the technology progresses and first-person shooters get kind of crazier and more inventive, it takes a lot to wow me when it comes to this genre. Which is why Black kicked my fucking ass when it first came out. And this game is just the most intense first-person shooter at that point I'd ever played. It's like playing in a Michael Bay movie. It is just a non-stop onslaught of action. And that's what I dug about it so much. It was just constant. There was like no downtime. It was like, kill a bunch of people here, and then the moment you go to the next area, just nothing but. No stealth, none of that bullshit. Just kill, kill, kill. Sometimes you just need a little kill. And Black delivers. The graphics are amazing. The music is kind of cool too when you can actually hear it because the sound effects are top fucking notch. Everything about this game was perfect. And it was one of those games where the moment I beat it, reset, start over again on a different difficulty. It was that type of game. I don't do that with very many games. But this I did. Super awesome game. If you love first-person shooters, get this game. Where's the fucking sequel? The guy that I used to work with, who was a huge fan of this game too, always told me that they needed to make a sequel called Blacker Than Black. I told him that made no sense. Back in the PlayStation 2 days, this genre that this next game is in was not a thing. It wasn't until toward the end of the PlayStation 2 life cycle that this genre became a juggernaut. But there were a few games beforehand that did kind of kick ass, like Frequency. It's a rhythm game developed by Harmonix, one of the first rhythm games, outside of Parappa the Rapper and Jammer Lammy. And of course, Harmonix is the developer of the original Guitar Hero and the Rock Band games. And you can see where all of that came from by playing this game. You have a bunch of different tracks, and you have to time your button presses to the beat. Just like in Rock Band here, you need to hit the buttons with the icons on the screen. And once you finish a track of music, you slide over to the next one. So you might do the guitar bit. And once you get that going, it'll keep continuing until you get to the end of a verse. And you can flip over and do the drum bit. And once you get that going, you can switch over and go to the electronics bit. Once you finish that, you move over to the vocals. It is a lot of fun. It is addictive as hell. There are so many types of songs in this game. It goes from like No Doubt to BT to Fear Factory. Yeah, Fear Factory. I love Fear Factory. Pirate Man 5000? The backgrounds in the game are really cool looking and just, they're kind of hypnotic. But the gameplay is where it's at. There's even bits where you can freestyle, which is rad as hell. If you want a really simple game that is addictive as all hell, sure, it features a lot of music from the early 2000s. This is the game for you. And there's a sequel too called Amplitude that I need to get my hands on. Next is another shoot 'em up. Back when the PlayStation 2 was around, I wasn't really big into shooters. Yeah, I played a couple. The Gradius 3 and 4 compilation and Sylphied. But it was basically because I played those games as a child on the Nintendo. I wanted to keep playing those games because they kind of had a nostalgic value to me. When it came to other titles in the shoot 'em up genre, I usually just never bothered. That's not the case today. Nowadays, I look for all the unique, crazy ones because those end up being the most fun usually. Just like Castle Shikigami 2. This game is bug nuts cray cray.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
The original game, I do believe, came out on the PlayStation 1. There's a third game in the series that came out for the Wii. It's a top-down shooter that's a bullet hell style shooter. There's so much shit flying around on screen, sometimes your eyeballs will just fall out. When you first start to play, there's a character select screen, not unlike something you would find in a fighting game, where you pick your character, and there's a few to choose from. Each one is like a wizard or a magic user of some sort, and you need to destroy all these demons that are kind of taking over Tokyo. And each one has their own attributes, their own attacks, and their own specials. They all sort of play the same, but the way their attacks power up are different. The graphics aren't anything really to write home about because it kind of feels like an old arcade game. But just like the greatest shoot 'em ups, this game is hard as balls. And there's a storyline, and the storyline is pure insanity. If you're a fan of bullet hell shoot 'em ups, like the manic shooters, this is the game for you. Your brains will ooze out your ears. It is just so insane. But it is a ton of fun. This is a game that I just keep coming back to over and over again. Like a month will go by and I'll be like, I haven't played Castle Shikigami 2 in a while. Let's pop that bitch in. And I play it for a good 3 days. So much fun, so many different cool characters to choose from. Can't go wrong. And lastly is a game released by Sega. And during the PlayStation 2 era, they released nothing but crazy-ass games that just kind of flew under the radar. And it's a shame because I would say 90% of them are pretty cool. Like this one. I had no idea this existed, so when I picked it up for like $3 at a local store, I was so freaking happy that I jumped for it. Gungrave. Goddamn. It is a 3D brawler. You run around with 2 guns. You're just blowing the shit out of everything. You got a coffin strapped to your back that you can use for special attacks. Because yes, it feels like one of those games developed by Suda51. The character designs are all really crazy and unique. It has this really cool aesthetic to it, and that's one of the things that really drew me in because it just looks amazing. It plays fantastically, the music is cool, the sound effects are rad. From the moment you start playing to the moment the game ends, and it's just absolute freaking craziness. It's got a bizarre-ass story, it is violent as all hell, a lot of destructible environments, just really cool enemies. The levels are really smartly designed, but it is just really fun and creative, and you can just tell that the developers wanted to make a game that felt familiar because of the brawling aspects, but just had this really cool look to it and was just different. How cool is this game? The back of the box tells you right there, kick their ass. And I couldn't get enough of it. I still haven't played the sequel. I need to rectify that. Maybe tonight. Yes. Yes. This is a franchise that Sega needs to take out of mothballs and make a new current generation version of it. It's sad to say that they made the decision to stop making games for consoles, and they're only going to make games for mobile devices, which is lame as fuck, Konami. Because there were so many cool franchises that came out during this generation of games that deserve sequels, like Gun Valkyrie and Atogi. Come on, Sega, get with it. Release another console. Just do it. Just please, for me. For me. Do it for me. I love you. Gungrave is rad as fuck, and you need to play it immediately. And those are a few of my favorite Diamond in the Rough games. There's plenty more where that came from for all systems. I could probably make video upon video upon video about this topic. Just because a title isn't AAA does not mean it sucks. So if you like my choices, let me know in the comments below. If you have suggestions for games like these that I still need to pick up, let me know as well. I want to hear everything you have to say on the topic. Please subscribe to my channel. The link is below right there. The big red button that says subscribe. Yeah, that one. Please share the video on social media. Spread the love around. And give the video a thumbs up if you like what you see. That way I know you are enjoying yourself. And I have an idea for a video that I might make in the future. It all depends on you, the audience. I would love to do a Q&A. Post your questions that you would like me to answer below, and I will be happy to do so. Yeah, it's something that most other YouTubers do, but I figured, why not? And until next time, I'm Chris, the Old S Retro Gamer, signing off.